Bless the Lord, brothers and sisters. So happy to be back yet again. I thank God for this awesome opportunity to share with you. I am so excited about this Bible series overview. I really am. I am looking forward to each and every story. I'm learning even the more as I go about these Bible stories and who, what, when, why, and how. So the next 5 stories are going to be the book of Joshua, the book of Judges, the book of Ruth, 1 Samuel, and 2 Samuel. So, let's get started, shall we? All right. Joshua. With Moses and an entire generation of disobedient Israelites dead, God tells Joshua to lead the people into Canaan, their promised land. In Jericho, the first major obstacle, a prostitute called Rahab, helps the Israelite spies and earns protection from the destruction of the city. God knocks its walls flat as Joshua's army marches outside, blowing trumpets and shouting. Joshua leads a successful military campaign, clearing idol worship from people called Hittites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites from the land. At one point, God answers Joshua's prayer to make the sun stand still, allowing more time to complete the battle. Major city subdued, Joshua divides the land among the 12 tribes of Israel, reminding the people to stay true to the God who led them home. Now, therefore, put away the strange gods which are among you, and incline your ear to the heart of the Lord of Israel. The next book is the book of Judges, written approximately 1050 BC, covered events that occurred as far back as 1375 BC. After Joshua's death, the Israelites lose momentum in driving pagan people out of the promised land. The children of Benjamin did not drive out the Jebusites that inhabited Jericho, as characteristics of many tribes, which allow idol worshippers to stay in the midst with tragic results. Have ye not obeyed my voice? God says to his people. They shall be as thorns to your sides, and their gods shall be a snare unto you. That's exactly what happens as Israelites begin a cycle of worshiping idols, suffering punishment by attacks, crying to God for help, and receiving God's aid in the form of a human judge or deliverer who restores order, lesser known as the judges, which include Othniel, Ehud, Tola, Jair, and Jephthah, while more familiar figures are Deborah, the only female judge who lead a military victory against the Canaanites, and Gideon, who tested God's will with a fleece and defeated the armies of Midian, and the amazing, strong Samson, who defeated the Philistine. Samson gives great weakness for his love for unsavory women, such as Delilah, who led his downfall and ultimate death in the Philistine temple. Ruth, a gentlewoman, marries into a Jewish family. When all of the men of the family die, Ruth shows loyalty to her mother-in-law, Naomi. She stays with her and scavenge for food to keep them all alive. As Ruth gleans barley in a field, the wealthy Boaz takes an interest in her and orders his workers to watch over her. Naomi recognizes that Boaz, as late husband relative, and encourages Ruth to pursue him as a kinsman's redeemer, one who weds her and continues the family line. Boaz marries Ruth starting a prominent family. The book of 1 Samuel. An infertile woman, Hannah, begs God for a son, promising to return him to the Lord's service. Samuel is born and soon sent to the temple with the aging priest, Eli. Upon Eli's death, Samuel serves as a judge or deliverer of Israel, subduing the nation's fearsome army and enemy, the Philistines. As Samuel ages, Israel's tribal leader rejects his sinful sons and asks for a king. Samuel warns that a king will tax the people and force them into service. But God tells Samuel to anoint the nobly tall and handsome Saul as Israelites' new first ruler. King Saul starts well, but begins making poor choices, as when he offers a sacrifice to God, a job reserved for just priests. Samuel tells Saul that he will be replaced. Saul's successor will be a shepherd named David, who with God's help will kill a giant Philistine warrior named Goliath and become Israel's new hero. The jealous king seeks to kill David, who runs for his life. David rejects opportunities to kill Saul himself, saying, "The Lord forbid that I should stretch forth mine hand against the Lord's appointed." At the end of 1 Samuel, Saul dies, battling the Philistines, making way for David to become king. 2 Samuel. When King Saul dies, David is made king by the southern Jewish tribe of Judah. 7 years later, after the death of Saul's son, Ishbosheth, king of the northern tribes, David becomes ruler of all Israel, capturing Jerusalem from the Jebusites. David creates new capital for his unified nation. And God promises David, "Your throne will be established forever." Military victories make Israel strong, but when David stays home from battle one spring, he commits adultery with a beautiful neighbor, Bathsheba. Then he has her husband, one of his soldiers, murdered. The prophet Nathan confirms David with a story of a rich man who steals a poor man's sheep. David is furious until Nathan announces, "Thou art the man." Chastened, David repents and God forgives his sins, but the consequences will affect David powerfully. The baby conceived dies, and David's family begins to splinter apart. One of David's visions, Amnon rapes his half-sister, and a second, Absalom, full brother to the violated girl, kills Amnon in revenge. Absalom then conspires to steal the kingdom from David, causing his father to flee for his life. When Absalom dies in battle with David and his men, David grieves so deeply he offends his soldiers. Ultimately, David returns to Jerusalem and his kingship. He also raises another son, born to Bathsheba, Solomon. Bless the true and living God.